All right, everything you need to change the suspension coilovers on your Ford F-150 from your 2009 to 2014. Take a look real quick. Everything I put my dirty paws on in order to make the project happen, including taking the brakes off, reinstalling, all that kind of stuff. So start over here with the fluids. WD-40 penetrant, great stuff. Wouldn't go without it. BC stands for brake clean in my handy dandy little container. Red and tacky, anti-seize grease, rebuild kit, black, copper anti-seize, the only way to go. Look-a-later 200s. These are for old people like me who can't see stuff. Light turns on. See, has a light. Yeah, you're gonna need it too someday. Extendolators, right there. Extendolator changes from 1/2 inch to 3/8, 1/2 inch to 1 inch. These things right here, indispensable. Make sure if you're going to buy them, get the ones that are, what do you call it, impact rated. This one here was for getting the, locker for the 4-wheel drive, the vacuum lock off. It's 3 bolts for that. 1 container to put cleaning stuff in so that you can clean everything once you're done. Ain't nothing worse than putting your filthy paws on filthy tools when you're trying to do work. First thing you do, you touch a dirty tool. Man, that is a gumption trap. That's the junk I use to clean it. Bought a big one, 130 Canadian. Don't know what that costs American. Had to use some tubes to bleed the brakes. Lone man job. One of these things, magnetic bolt tray. Very handy because you're probably not stupid like I am, but if you are stupid like me, you have to compensate for your stupidity by making sure that you keep track of everything. Because if I put a bolt in the wrong place, I will spend an hour trying to find that damn thing, and that will make me angry, and then I'll end up messing up the job, and I'm very angry. It's just not worth it. So everything goes into here, everything comes out of there, so that if I'm missing something, I know I'm in trouble, or if I've got something extra, I'm also in trouble. 1 roll of paper towels. This is what was left after the project, so I've gone through about 1/2 roll of paper towels. Scrubbulators. This one I use for cleaning the tools. This one I use for cleaning off the ends of bolts so that when they come out, they don't, the nut doesn't compress all that rust and then get stuck and then seize, and then you snap the bolt trying to take it off because you're swearing and cursing. This comes in really handy with the sway bar link. Bungee cord to hold up the tie rod. When you disconnect it, hold it out of the way so that you can get access to the axle and the shock. Ritilators. These are paint ritilators. White paint. I use that to mark all my sockets whenever I'm done a project. If the paint is rubbed off, or I've used a socket that didn't have the paint on it, it gets the paint put on it because I cannot read this little stuff right here. That is useless to me. I cannot read it at my age. It doesn't make any, it's just garbage. I have to do something like that. That's the only way I'm going to be able to see. Speaking of sockets, you got the 8mm for getting off the ABS sensor. I guess I use 2. 10mm for getting off the bracket that holds the brake line in place. 13 millimeter used for taking the nut off the axle in the hub. 15 millimeter is for 18 millimeter is for the tie rod, not the tie rod, the sway bar link. 20 millimeter, I think I grabbed incorrectly, thinking that that was for the brakes. To get the calipers off, it's 21 millimeter. To get the tie rod bolt and the upper control arm bolt off, it's 21 millimeter. To get your tires off, your lug nuts are 21 millimeter or 13/16. I use this 13/16 because it's just a titchy touch smaller than 21 millimeter and allows me to get just a better fit when I'm using the impact to get it off. 22 millimeter, which was the new size of the upper control arm that I replaced when I was doing the suspension. It had a lock nut instead of a castle nut, and it was a 22 millimeter, not a 21. 1.25 to get the suspension off of the lower control arm for that big through bolt that goes through the coilover bottom, and used this crescent wrench because I don't have a 30 millimeter to put on the other end for the nut. So I just used the crescent wrench. That's cheating, I suppose, but it does the job. S-hook and this contraption right here to hold the brake caliper up and out of the way. You're always going to need a Pryolator 5000 at some point, either to pry the brakes caliper apart so you can get it off the rotor. Another one here, don't know what I used it for, definitely magnetic. Caliper separators. This one has turned into a piece of junk. Really doesn't work too well, and it doesn't get narrow enough if you have brand new brake pads, at least for me. So this thing is going to go away. Had to end up using the old-fashioned C-clamp to compress the calipers to get the brakes, the new brake pads that I installed when I was doing all of this, so that I could get it back around the old rotor, because the rotor wasn't that bad. You need a Grippolator 200 to get the dust cover off of the axle so you can gain access to the 13 millimeter nut that holds the axle onto the hub. Now, you can do everything with a 3/8 and a 1/2 inch ratchet. I'm old, stupid, and I have enough money so that I can employ these things right here. This, by the way, best tool in the world. I think it has a 1/2 inch. Yeah, that impact right there. It says it does 220 foot-pounds of brake loose ternulation. I think it does more. It is spectacular. All these little doodad guys here, they're not bad. They will do small bolts and small jobs. This Makita here is a powerhouse. I don't know what it's rated for getting junk off, but it does a really good job. This guy right here to clean the backside of your aluminum rims and the mounting surface on the rotor. I like to take a wire brush, brush all that off with my little drill, and then I like to put anti-seize to make sure that she don't stick, because sometimes she do. And then the big boy, this, I think 700 foot-pounds of brake luculating. It's really good. It does the job, but it does like to have a big battery on it. So I do that. Let me see. Tapis Morteau. This comes in really handy when you got to knock loose the tie rod and the upper control arm. And this I had to use to get one of the tires off, because the fella who worked on it last didn't use the anti-seize, and so the tire was baked onto the rotor. So I whacked with that. Everything worked fine. This little guy here is for holding. There's a little square nut on the bottom of the sway bar links, and while you're tightening and while you're loosening, you have to put something on that to hold that so that it just doesn't keep spinning through the little ball joint that it has. So that 3/8 I think I used to for the brake bleeder. That was because I had found out that my caliper was seized, so I had to change out the caliper and then bleed the brakes. They gave me the wrong caliper. They gave me the caliper for the other side, even though I specified driver front. They gave me they gave me front passenger. And of course, the bleeder was on the bottom, not the top. So bleeding it turned into a fiasco. But you got her done. 21, again, almost everything can be done with a 21 millimeter. This is an El Cheapo, but it works for aligning the castle nuts just so that you can get the cotter pin through. You're going to need that 15 millimeter ratchetator. This thing here is a bendy head, and it ratchets. That is good for the top of the shock tower to get the 3 bolts off. They're 15 millimeters so that you can get the coilover off. Oh yeah, rebuild kit. Might have mentioned it before, but I like to spray everything anyways, just because while I know the rust is there, if I can't really see it, it doesn't make me feel too bad. And yeah, that's it.